let's rebody some 90210 Ken dolls. Coming up after this. Okay, if you've been watching my channel, you know that I am a huge fan of the Max Steel bodies. They're crazy, muscular, but also very nicely articulated. Now, the ones that I have to articulate these 90210 dolls, that's what we're going to do today. You're going to see that these have very unusual heads. There's a short period of time that Mattel was giving Kens these type of heads. But normally you can't put regular heads on. I don't know. This is the extra made to move body, way before there was any made to move dolls from Barbie. Max Steel had made to move bodies. Now this is the joints that I would prefer. Right now I have the latest fashionistas on these bodies, and kind of my favorite. I don't know, they're smiling, they're cool. I could see that these two heads being classic favorites, that they could end up on the made-to-move bodies. My favorite Ken head of all time is on one of the double-jointed made-to-move bodies that I have. I have 3 of these, so those are the placeholders. Taking rid of them now, I think just that this guy looks like post-apocalyptic, cool with his vitiligo, and this is the only new Max Steel. Well, not the only new Max Steel I opened, but so the only double jointed one, and also the sticker is not worn off at all, so it's cool that he has a robot arm, and I just went with it and make him wear space sneakers, and yeah, he just looks super cool. Favorite Ken head sculpt to date for me. But these two heads are pretty awesome. They got this. Back in the 90s, there was still this 50s thing going on, and especially 90210, you know, with the peach pit and everything. They really did push that 50s aesthetic, so it's really cool to have these 50s dolls. Now, as you can see, this is one that I've done. I did it kind of as a prototype. I still could take this neck down a little bit. I mean, it's okay, but sandpaper, that is the trick that we're going to learn today. And I am going to take my time, but Brandon is looking pretty good on this body. And I don't know, I should have did a poll on my well, I don't know, well, some part of YouTube, there's a place you can put polls in my community tab, and asked you which body you thought was better. I don't think there's any question. Like, I mean, the Max Steel bodies are a bit shorter, but come on. So I don't know. And they wear the clothes very, very well. So, I don't know, this got the clicky knees and everything. But no, we are going to do this, and it is kind of sacrilegious. These are probably expensive dolls now, and this isn't coming from nowhere. You might have seen the video where I did rebody Derek on one of these bodies, and I did take the sandpaper to him because I didn't do that in my transformation of him, and I also just found this body at a thrift store, and I love this tiger tattoo. It was so cool, and I tried all the different heads, and this, I thought Derek's head looked best with this tattoo. I think it suits him better than any of the other ones, even though I did want to put it on this guy. I have these 3 who I have them as MMA fighters, I guess, and they're wearing WWE girl shorts, and they have matching bandanas. It was one of the characters had matching bandanas, and I heated up their hands so I could squish this cuff over it and hide the electronics, and I had 3 different styles of this, so I am loving my MMA fighter guys. This guy is Last Dragon's daddy, if that makes sense to you. This is a Hasbro head, something that I don't like to do. Oh, one that I'm missing, I do have another made-to-move body, so I guess I have 4 of them, and I have a G.I. Joe head, so another Hasbro head on one of these. I just don't have that here right now, and Yeah, I guess I do have some other ones. I have some villains, some Max Steel villains that I really like, but this is too many. This is way too many to. This is the head that came with the dragon tattoo, I think, but I had this broken leg. See, it's just a chipped knee kind of thing. And I put on this, and then I put on this black cloth. I don't know if this is going to be a kind of like the black headband, but I did want to use I don't really like Max Steel's face, however, I kind of do too, even though I always choose some Kens that I have better, and this Derek this is such an awesome head, and I think he looks great with that tattoo, and it would be a waste to not put it on, not match up this awesome tattoo with one of my favorite heads. So I guess these ones I am going to use all the time. This is already way too many doll favorites. How can these all be my favorites? And like I said, there's even more. But that's great. Anyway, it's happy. I won't use the. This is why it's okay, because I won't use the Brandon and Dylan heads or the dolls at all, unless they're on these Max Steel bodies, and I'm going to use them all the time if I have them on these bodies. And I don't mind this amount of articulation. This is the same amount of articulation as the WWE bodies that I like to use for the Barbie heads. So this is fine. You can get lots of poses, and it's a great sculpt. The ankles on the made-to-move versions are so much better. Do I have one without shoes on? Yeah, you can see that. See how much better that new ankle is to this one. But I mean, most of the time they're going to have shoes on anyway. But that's really my only beef, and it's kind of awkward sometimes because these knees don't swivel at all. It's a weird straight bend, and usually you can at least turn the hip out or something, but they're only straightforward bends in the legs. Like you can turn it out this way, but it's kind of weird that you can't twist the leg. That is my only complaint with these. Oh, and their hands are really, really huge. But well, this is an inspiring body, like unachievable, yet makes me want to achieve it. Okay, so just pop off the head. It's this weird, long pegged head. They put it on this ball. This body's going away. This is a 1968 body. They really buffed Ken up in that year, but I am happy about that because all of the clothes made for this buffier period of Ken fit on my Max Steels and the new buff Ken doll. So that new buff made to move Ken, which it's better than this body, but this body has so many possibilities for skin tones. So I want to take advantage. Like, we don't have a buff body in this rich brown skin tone, so that is why we love Max Steel. And then there's just it's ridiculously muscular, so we also like that. We're making superheroes here. Do I have all the tools I need? I don't know. I thought I brought my sandpaper. That is the new trick to this. But oh yeah, and then I just use a knife, and we are gonna whittle this down a lot. I have found that the closer you get to this, to the neckline, to the chin line, the better it is. I don't want to scratch his chin on the sandpaper or cut anything, so I am gonna carefully cut off this, but then I am gonna just slowly sand it down, and I think that is the best way. So what I do is, there's a guideline there, and much like if you watched my Derek and the Rockers, I guess I just did another Ken from that time period, and instead of cutting around here, you're cutting down and around for those flatter heads. I should have brought an example, but you can watch that video. That will be linked at the end, and my blade wasn't tight enough in here, so it fell. I don't know if you have a good vantage point. I'm going to bring up this tray here, which I have a sandpaper. I was I rolled this up and I was fixing Derek's head. I'll show you that later, because Derek I had not done with sandpaper. So, and then I used masking tape, which I don't have right here. But I stuck this inside of the head, twisted it to get a nice thin head. We will do that. I'll show you how that goes. So I am now cutting, following the guide. And I guess I could put the camera down here a little better, even though you can't see what I'm doing. I'm just going to cut this off. And I was hoping when I did this to Brandon that I wouldn't have to cut off the trademark date and keep all of that information there, so I knew it was a 1991 doll and stuff, but it gets sanded down because we want the head to look as good as possible. And did I say Brandon could do with a little more sanding down, and I might do that. But I don't know how straight I did that. It does look a little shorter on the front, and I don't know how that is because I did just follow a line, and maybe I should cut. I don't want to make a mistake though. I had no pressure doing this with Brandon because I didn't have the camera on, but it doesn't mean I can rush it. And I also want to cut all of this out. And will I do that now or will I wait? You know what? I'll see what happens and sand that out. But basically, I did cut that out. But I'm just going to lay a piece of sandpaper. What is this grit? Probably could use a finer grit than this. This is 60. It seemed to work fine. And I'm just going to carefully, I don't know if that's the way to do it, try to keep the chin off of the paper just in case I slip down, and you don't want to put a scratch on here, so that is something to be careful of. And I probably could have cut off a lot more of the neck instead of doing this, because I learnt that you have to get it down pretty much to the neck, but I don't want to. I want to make it nice and flat and straight. And then once we do that, we're going to, well, I guess I could do that now. We're going to cut on the inside of this. Well, you know what? It's not close enough. And we're going to cut this at an angle because we want this thin at the edge. And then we want it to taper in even more just to make sure that it fits snugly around the nub of here. So we want this to go down as far as possible. You know what? Because I know I have to sand so much off, I think I am going to whittle away and be very careful. It would be horrible if I took off too much on the back. And it is hard to get it flat, but eventually it did. And I guess how I did it was just being careful and slowly doing it. But I don't trust this, and yeah, you just have to put more pressure on. I'm just going to keep doing this and keep checking to see where I have to put more pressure, and then I'll just put more pressure on that area of the neck. And again, very careful not to scratch the chin. I hope I keep saying that. I hope that that's not a foreshadowing of things to come. So I'm just going to sand and sand and sand until I get this down as low as possible. And hopefully that this comes unattached too, so I don't have to worry about cutting it out. But you know what? I might have to just cut that out now. I mean, I really want to cut this out, and you have to be very, very careful when you do this. because you don't want to go out. See, you don't want to go outside, and I almost did that. But at the same time, you do want to go right to the edge. Oh my goodness. See, that's very dangerous, and what you don't want to do, look how close I got there. So that could be horrible, but luckily, see, this is the stress of doing it on camera. But I think it can be, it definitely can be saved, and I'm gonna save it because we've got a lot of sanding to do. But I think it would be easier to sand maybe if we cut this out. And also at the end of this, I'm gonna roll this up, and then I'm gonna sand this inside here to give more hollow out and make this as thin as possible so that the neck is going to fit on there all nice and secure. So let me sand away at this, and I'll show you the next time. In seconds, you will see that I've sanded probably, well, I guess it's not going to be that close to his hairline because he doesn't have a lot of chin to neck ratio left here. But okay, I am gonna just turn off the camera and whittle away here like so. Okay, it's really bad that I did cut him there, and as I'm turning, I am worried about it tearing, so I am gonna carefully cut this on an angle. It's also going to take away all of the extra sanding that I have to do. However, it is going to be a wobbly sanding area. But I am worried about it ripping more up his neck. I don't want to cause a big tear. And like I said, we do want to cut as close as possible to the edge of the neck. Maybe I should wait to sand it out. But okay, I did cut out a bit there. I just aim to cut through the middle, because the more cutting you do, the less sanding you have to do. However, it's more dangerous to do the cutting. Oh man, it's so hot. Sorry about my attire, but I'm just trying to survive here. It's late at night. I can't keep the windows open or the bugs will come in with my bright lights on. Okay, so yeah, like again, kind of want to cut that way so that it goes down. However, I am gonna even all that out with my sandpaper as well, and you can see that the neck is getting down a bit closer to the jawline, and we can try this now. Actually, why don't we try this and see how it's gonna look? I mean, Dylan does have a pretty long neck, so I mean it's already looking real good. But let's see that we definitely got to sand that down a little bit. But the closer we can get to the bottom of the chin, the better that it's going to look on the body anyway. Yeah, that's looking good. It's not a perfect skin match, as you can see, but this is a very old red toned head. Oh, it looks good though, doesn't it? Okay. Kind of, it's holding on to the thing. You can see his earring. I usually wrap this in masking tape, but because the head is sticking in there so well, because he's got a narrower head, it's really working really well. I usually stick a rubber washer down in around here. You can use an elastic band or anything. I use like these washers, but you can use hair ties, so many things, because you usually don't have, what you're supposed to have on here is a little piece of plastic going underneath this lip and then going above this lip, and it holds it on really tight to the neck. But because that's not happening and we're just making like this hollow head, I'll show you here, then you need something to hold it on a little stiffer. So I usually make a big wrap of masking tape around the peg so that it just stands in there, and you can see in here is the washer that I just stuffed down inside of his neck. I'll show you that more later, but that's just so that we have a good sturdy head, and then plus I can reuse this body and it makes it more reusable. I know it's not very professional to have like that masking tape, but I'll take that and make it reusable any day. So here I go, and again, if I see that one side is lower or higher than another, I'll just put more pressure on the area that I want sanded down and just slowly do this. Try different techniques and stuff to see which works, but it really makes it super professional. It makes the neck look so tidy and perfect around where it joins. Okay, I don't know if you can see that that's not even. You can see where I put that little notch in there, so we still have to flatten that out, but you can see that it's not perfectly flat, and that is the aim. And the only way we're going to do that is if we're going to just be very careful and try to sand down the places that are a bit higher, and just by putting more pressure on. Sometimes if it's like really big in the back, I might sand it like this to get the back down more, or one side. I might try doing that if it's really, but then ultimately the spin will, and then sometimes not putting too much pressure on this because it can buckle while you're turning. And so if you do it really lightly, and then it's just going to take longer, but it'll probably even out. And again, keep examining it and put the pressure slightly in the direction of where you want most of the sanding to happen and go down. But I think what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to roll up in here and even out the plastic around in here by stuffing the sandpaper inside, and that'll actually make this whole channel thinner so that it'll be easier to sand down anyway. But also this is good. And again, try to make the pressure on this angle so that it tapers thinner to the tip, to the edge, because that's what you want done. So I'm just going to spin this, and maybe I didn't wrap that tight enough. And then just twist this and focus on the places that I want to sand down. And again, this kind of angle so that it tapers outward around the curve of the neck. Okay, so now I am whittling away at the inside of this. Like, I mean, you could sand it, and I definitely recommend sanding it, but you have to do more sanding if you do less whittling. It's safer to do the sanding because you can do it slower and more carefully, but I want to do it faster. So Like, I want to get it cut on a slope as close to the edge as possible so it fits tightly on the neck. And I just tested it out on the head, and I'll show you. So we still have got, it's not staying on anymore because I am whittling out all of that stuff by itself. So we will have to do the masking tape and stuff, but we still don't want the neck to be too long. So yeah, we want to cut lots more out of the inside of the neck, and we want to shorten it more and make it even. I think I'm almost to fixing that little nick there. So now that I've cut off a lot more of this, then it will be faster to sand it down by rotating it on the sandpaper too. So I'm just going to continue cutting and sanding until it's even and straight. A little bit of this, a little bit of this, back and forth until I have the neck as close to the chin as possible. I mean, we're getting pretty close. And if you can't cut any more down off the neck, then that means you want to hollow more out of the neck so that it can fit further down on the peg of the body. I will also grab one of the other regular made to move bodies, which you would probably prefer to use, because I know not all people will want to use a max steel body. So I will show you how the head will fit on a regular. It's just going to be the same thing because we have a peg for the head to go on. So you're going to follow the same procedures. It's just going to be on a different body. Okay, I think we have reached pretty good. Now, aim for perfection, but it might not be perfect. Like, it might be a little higher in the back or higher onto one side, but it's okay, and it's not going to be noticeable. Aim for perfection, though, because the closer you get to it, even though so many heads on regular dolls that I've gotten are uneven anyway. I don't know, that's not really a good example, but I've had some pretty jangy head. I'm gonna rinse this under the tap right now, and we'll put it on. You know what? I'm gonna just stick it on to show you right now. I am surprised at how well it fits without taking too much down. Like with Brandon, I kept wanting to take a little bit more. I still want to take some more, but I think it's because of the shape of Dylan's head. It's more of a cylinder-shaped head that I don't have to take. That these look great. I am so happy to have these to play with now, because they're like, I mean, they are 90210 stars, classic actors, but at the same time they do have that 50s look that's kind of cool. He's got an earring. That's you gotta say that's cool. And yeah, cool head. And now I'll show you how I secure it after. I'm gonna rinse this stuff off just to get rid of any of the excess powder that's on it. I'm really happy with this. Makes quite a mess. So a friend of mine found these for me, and I don't think they're too happy about this. I mean, they're in perfect condition. There's no paint chips or anything. The faces, the clothes, everything about this 90210 collection. But like I said before, I wouldn't play with them. I would never use them. I'm going to use them all the time now, and I believe that that is the most important thing. Look how good that looks. Okay, so to make sure that this is jank, sometimes you can just put a piece of masking tape around the peg and stick it on, but the head's going to be really loose. So I do like to take a washer. I like these rubber washers because they're closer to skin color, and I don't know, it just feels a little more professional putting these on, but it just holds the peg in place because there's no rubber on the head to do the job that it did before. So I just stuff it down inside the crevice to keep the peg. Oh, and I also promised that I would show you the head on a regular made-to-move body, so I will do that too right now. I have no idea who this is, but it is the same concept. Oh, look. I guess in that case, because you get such a big neck peg, that it's like a much bigger net peg. So either you'd have to really whittle it down, or hollowing it out, like with the sandpaper, and then sticking the head down on it like that would be your trick. Look, it beefs out the neck a little bit. Now, I know that some people cut around the jawline, and I don't know, that's too risky. I like that when you can do it on the sandpaper, and it's just a perfect, you're just carefully doing it around and around, so the chances of getting it right. But you could do it on this body. You can see that that does look a bit funny, but in this instance I would do some more sanding. Like, I sanded it on this angle because the neck is on this angle. Now, this is a more straight neck, so maybe you would just do more sanding here. But I mean, I've whittled it down an awful lot and sanded it, so I don't know. If you don't like the way that that looks, and then I don't know what body you would use to make the skin tone work, but still, for me, see, look at that, and then you look at this, nothing compares to the Max Steel body. I mean, I want to live vicariously through this body. Maybe one day. I mean, I think in real life I would be embarrassed to look this muscular. But this is good. Look, I don't even have to put any tape on. It's working, so I love that. I guess it's because that's sticking out a little bit. But maybe that's a good thing to do. Put on the washer, have a little bit of rubber in there, make sure that it holds on, and if it doesn't stay on well enough, then I do wrap it in tape. So, I don't know, maybe I should consider putting that out. But and then I like to do it back to front. I find that works out better. If you are going to use this exact method, the head falls backwards if you do it the other way, and it doesn't seem to fall. Maybe it's just the shape of the neck, that it is a better way to do it. And when you do have the tape in there, you still have some movement. I mean, you don't have the full round of articulation. You don't have to put the tape on at all. But I think I like to do it to make it a little more permanent, yet not permanent at all. So what I do in that case is I just try. I mean, it's probably best to do this even before you put the washer on in there. But I just like to wrap it around the disc and everything. I mean, I used to cut these off and whittle them, and I have all kinds of Max Steel bodies in various, the existing peg whittled down in different ways, but I think I've come to learn that I prefer just to leave it in its original state and work around it that way. I don't know what I was doing before, but in this case, you just do that and you just build up the tape until you've got a nice sturdy head position. And then I have a new awesome action doll that I'm going to enjoy using for Instagram pictures and everything. Let me know what you think of the head swaps. Do you prefer it before? Maybe you liked his body before. I can't say that I do. I love these now that they have a little bit more articulation, and they're just, aspirational, muscular bodies. Okay, like, comment, share, and subscribe. We'll see you next time. Depending on the head you're using You might have to really load this up with tape to make a really big peg to fit the gap. Masking tape is great. I mean, you could use a more permanent, like hockey tape to do that. Oh yeah. So stuff that over the head. And I mean, it doesn't, sometimes, I mean, the way that I did that sometimes can get a little more movement. Oh, look, I saw a little bit of tape there, but the head has to go down as far as possible. But I'm happy with just back and forth movement. Than having it the way that it was before. So good. So good. Love these guys now. Who was your favorite? Brandon or Dylan?